All right, buckle up, because
Yeah.
today we're heading into some seriously creepy territory with H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, Lovecraft.
We're talking about the Dunwich Horror, but we're not just gonna, like, rehash the plot or anything. We're
Right.
going deep, folks. Like, what makes this story so unsettling, so effective?
It's amazing, isn't it, how even back in the 1920s, he really tapped into these primal fears, the
Yeah.
fear of the unknown, and he does it without like resorting to cheap tricks,
Yeah.
like jump scares,
Right.
gore. It's all about atmosphere, this sense of creeping dread. Like the setting itself is a character.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of the setting, let's talk about Dunwich.
Dutch.
This fictional town, like tucked away in the isolated hills of Massachusetts, and Lovecraft does not hold back in his description, you know what I mean?
Oh, because not.
It's like this decaying, almost forgotten place, right? Like steeped in whispers of dark history, strange occurrences. You can practically like feel the weight of its oppressive atmosphere.
Yes, he uses these sensory details,
Yeah.
so effectively.
Yes.
It's oppressive silence, the strange smells, the unsettling sounds from the hills. He's creating this tapestry of foreboding, right? That really sets the stage.
It's the town itself is a character, right?
Yes.
Just oozing secrets and decay. I mean, he even describes the inhabitants as repellently decadent, hinting at, generations of inbreeding, isolation. Like it's taken its toll, both physically and mentally.
It really gives you the feeling that Dunwich is a place where outsiders just don't belong. A
Right.
place where the natural order of things it's twisted.
Twisted, warped. Okay, so we've got this unsettling town, right, as our backdrop. Now let's talk about the family at the heart of the story, the Whateleys.
Ah, the Whateleys.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah. They are shrouded in mystery from the start. You have old Whateley, this reclusive patriarch, disturbing interest in the occult. Then there's his albino daughter, Lavinia, who is, well, let's just say eccentric, right, by the townsfolk. But the most intriguing, I think, has got to be Lavinia's son, Wilbur.
Wilbur. Wilbur is like no other child you've ever encountered in fiction.
He's something else.
He grows at this alarming rate, physically and mentally, exhibiting this preternatural intelligence. It's both fascinating and unsettling at the same time.
I know. Lovecraft really plays with this notion of accelerated development,
Mm-hmm.
Wilbur matures physically and intellectually, far beyond what is considered normal. And it's clear from the start, he's not just some, precocious child. He is something other.
Other. Yes, you definitely get that sense that Wilbur isn't quite human. And Lovecraft goes into, like, unsettling detail about his appearance, right?
Yes.
Highlighting his grotesque, almost goat-like features. I mean, even dogs, they recoil from him in terror.
I know. It's brilliant how Lovecraft uses Wilbur's appearance to foreshadow the darkness that he embodies. He's marked as different as other from the very beginning.
And then there's his obsession with his grandfather's collection of ancient forbidden books, like particularly the Necronomicon.
It's a Necronomicon, yes.
What do you make of the Necronomicon's role in the story?
Well, it's more than just a spooky prop.
Yeah.
It plays this pivotal role in Lovecraft's whole mythos, right?
Right.
Representing this forbidden knowledge and humanity's dangerous pursuit of things that are just best left undisturbed. And in the Dunwich Horror, it's clearly a source of dark power. It's fueling Wilbur's unnatural growth, and it's hinting at these truly monstrous forces that are at play.
Think about it. Wilbur is immersing himself in this, like, grimoire of ancient rituals, cosmic secrets. I mean, you can almost see the dark knowledge warping him from the inside out.
Yes.
Pushing him further and further away from humanity.
And the renovations that old Whateley makes to that farmhouse, the sealed-off upper story, that mysterious tool shed.
Yeah.
It suggests that they're preparing for something monstrous.
Right.
These aren't just the whims of, an eccentric old man.
No.
They point to a deeper, much more sinister purpose.
It feels like they're creating a space for something that just doesn't belong in this world. Something that defies the laws of nature and human understanding.
And then, as if things weren't creepy enough already, old Whateley dies.
Oh, yeah.
Under mysterious circumstances.
Right.
And his last words, they're all about opening the gates, needing more space for something that's growing.
Hold on. Let me get this straight. You've got this creepy, isolated town, a family steeped in dark secrets, ancient rituals, and their patriarch dies uttering these cryptic warnings about opening gateways to what exactly? I mean, what does all this mean for the people of Dunwich?
Well, those cryptic warnings, those are just the beginning. Remember the whippoorwills that Lovecraft keeps mentioning?
Oh, yeah, those creepy birds, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're traditionally seen as harbingers of death, almost like, psychopomps waiting to guide souls to the afterlife.
And you're saying those same birds are acting strangely around the time of old Whateley's death.
Exactly. Their cries, they become unnatural, echoing the old man's dying gasps. It's like they sense something else is at play, something beyond their usual domain.
Okay, so we have a creepy death, ominous warnings, and birds acting like they've lost their minds.
Right.
What happens next?
Wilbur. He's now the head of this unsettling household, and he embarks on a journey to Miskatonic University
Miskatonic University.
in Arkham.
In Arkham.
He's desperate to get his hands on a complete copy of the Necronomicon.
So he's basically going to college to learn how to summon an ancient evil.
Well, it's more complicated than that, I think. You have
Yeah.
to remember, Wilbur is a product of his environment, right? I mean, he's been raised on this twisted version of reality, steeped in forbidden knowledge.
Right.
It's hard to say whether he's truly malevolent or just a victim of his upbringing.
That's a good point. He's both monstrous and strangely tragic. But I have a feeling things are about to get a lot worse for the folks back in Dunwich.
You're right, Wilbur's trip to Arkham does not end well. In fact, he dies under very mysterious circumstances.
Of course he does.
And it's the aftermath of his death that really marks the beginning of the Dunwich horror.
Okay, so let's talk about what happens after Wilbur kicks a bucket.
Rob?
From what I remember, it involves some seriously messed up stuff happening back in Dunwich.
You're not wrong about that. After Wilbur's demise, the horror shifts from being focused on a single individual to becoming something far more pervasive and insidious. It's like Wilbur was just a conduit,
Right.
a vessel for something much larger, much more ancient and incomprehensible.
And that something is what starts terrorizing the town.
Exactly. People start noticing strange occurrences, unexplained sounds, foul stenches, livestock being mutilated in horrific ways. But the most terrifying detail, the one that really sends chills down your spine, is the appearance of those gigantic footprints.
Yeah, those footprints are like the calling card of the unseen horror, right? They appear out of nowhere, massive, inhuman, a tangible reminder something is out there, something beyond human comprehension.
I know. Lovecraft is a master of using suggestion to evoke terror.
Yes.
He never explicitly describes the creature in its entirety, but he gives you enough to let your imagination run wild.
Oh, for sure.
And which you imagine is always going to be far more terrifying than anything he could put on paper.
He leaves these like tantalizing clues, the footprints, the strange sounds, the reactions of the townsfolk, right?
Right.
And it's up to the reader to piece together the horrifying truth.
It's brilliant in a truly unsettling way.
Yeah. So amidst all this chaos in Dunwich, we have Dr. Armitage back in Arkham grappling with a puzzle of his own. Remember Wilbur's diary written in that strange unknown alphabet?
Ah, yes, that diary.
I was wondering when that was going to come back into play.
Well, Armitage, being the brilliant scholar that he is, manages to decipher it. And what he discovers is absolutely chilling.
Lay it on me. What secrets did Wilbur's diary hold?
Wilbur, he details his blasphemous rituals, his attempts to communicate with beings from outside our dimension, his plans to prepare the earth for the return of these, old ones.
The old ones.
Yeah, it's a disturbing glimpse into the mind of someone consumed by cosmic horror. But there's also, I don't know, even though Wilbur's portrayed as this grotesque, almost inhuman figure, his diary reveals, I don't know, maybe a certain level of vulnerability,
Right.
a sense of longing for connection, even if it's with these, terrifying entities.
It adds a layer of complexity to the story, right?
Yes.
Blurs the lines between good and evil, victim and perpetrator. I mean, Wilbur is both a product of his environment and an active participant in the horrors that unfold.
Exactly.
Okay, so Armitage has deciphered this disturbing diary, and I'm assuming he now understands the gravity of the situation.
He realizes that Wilbur wasn't just messing around with dangerous ideas.
Right.
He was actively trying to summon something truly monstrous into our world. And now that something is loose in Dunwich
Uh-oh.
and Armitage, he feels this responsibility to stop it, to protect humanity from this encroaching cosmic horror.
So he's not just an academic observer anymore.
No.
He's got to become a monster hunter.
Exactly. Armitage, he gathers his colleagues, Professor Rice and Dr. Morgan, and they begin combing through, ancient texts, looking for a way to combat this otherworldly entity. They arm themselves with potent spells, chemical weapons, anything they can find to fight this thing.
It's like a cosmic horror version of Ghostbusters, right?
It is.
Academics battling ancient evils with a combination of knowledge and firepower.
It's a great analogy. Yeah. And just like in Ghostbusters, they're going to have to confront something far beyond anything they've ever imagined.
So where does this final confrontation take place?
They receive word that the creature is heading towards Sentinel Hill, the place where the Whateleys used to perform their rituals.
Ah, Sentinel Hill.
And it's on Sentinel Hill that the story, reaches its climax, this battle between the forces of reason and this embodiment of cosmic horror.
Okay, so paint me a picture. What happens when Armitage and his crew go toe-to-toe with this, whatever it is?
Well, the townsfolk, they're too terrified to follow, but they watch from below as Armitage, Rice, and Morgan, they ascend Sentinel Hill armed with their knowledge and their makeshift weapons, and they hand Armitage a powerful telescope so they can witness the confrontation from a safe distance.
And I bet they see something truly unforgettable.
You could say that. Curtis Whateley, one of the townsfolk, gets a brief glimpse of the creature through the telescope, and he is forever changed by what he sees. He describes it as this monstrous, gelatinous mass, bigger than a barn, covered in eyes and mouths and dozens of legs. But the most disturbing detail, the one that really sticks with you, is the half-face on top.
Wait, what? A half-face?
Yes, a half-formed human face, staring out from atop this writhing mountain flesh. And it's clearly a Whateley face.
Oh, no.
Suggesting this horrifying connection to Wilbur and his lineage.
Okay, that is seriously messed up. So while the townsfolk are getting traumatized by this glimpse of cosmic horror, what are Armitage and his companions doing?
They've reached the peak of Sentinel Hill, and they begin chanting these incantations, trying to banish the creature back to the dimension from whence it came.
Right.
And there's this palpable sense of a struggle taking place, not just between the men and the creature, but between forces beyond human comprehension. Like the very fabric of reality seems to be straining under the weight of this confrontation.
It sounds epic and terrifying all at the same time.
You're getting it. The sky darkens, thunder roars, and the very air crackles with this otherworldly energy. And then, in this heart-stopping moment, the creature cries out for help, for its father.
Hey, and hold on. The monster is crying out for its father.
Yes. It's a cry that blends this horror with a strange, unsettling pathos. I don't know. It suggests that this monstrous entity, it isn't simply a force of destruction, but something more complex, something perhaps even, tragic.
Wow.
It makes you question the motivations of these beings, the old ones, and their connection to humanity.
Okay, so we have this cosmic horror showdown. Reality is warping, and the creature's crying out like a lost child. How does it all end? I need to know. Okay, I need to know what happens next. Does the creature reunite with its father? Does it destroy Dunwich? Do Armitage and his crew survive?
Well, the creature's cry for help, it's followed by this deafening blast, like a cataclysmic event.
Yeah.
And it just obliterates the entity, leaving behind this lingering stench and a permanent scar on the landscape.
Wow, so they actually managed to defeat this thing. I have to admit, part of me was expecting a much bleaker ending.
I know. Lovecraft is known for his bleakness, but even in his darkest tales, there's often a glimmer of hope, a reminder that humanity, despite its flaws, its vulnerabilities, it can sometimes prevail against the forces of cosmic horror.
So Armitage and his crew, they survived this encounter.
They do, but they're forever changed by what they witnessed, right? They've stared into the abyss, confronted this ultimate unknowable, and that leaves a mark on the psyche.
I can only imagine. And the people of Dunwich, how do they react to the creature's demise?
Relieved, of course, that the immediate threat is gone, but there's this lingering sense of unease, this knowledge that they live in a world where such horrors are possible. The vegetation around Sentinel Hill, it remains warped, twisted, a constant reminder of the events that transpired.
It's like a scar on the landscape, a testament to the power of the creature and the forces that it represented. But what about the creature itself? I mean, what was it exactly? Was it really Wilbur's twin, as Armitage suggests?
Well, Lovecraft never gives us a definitive answer,
Right.
which is part of what makes the story so unsettling.
Right.
Armitage theorizes that the creature was composed largely of a force that doesn't belong in our dimension, something ancient, fundamentally alien. The half-face, so distinctly Whateley-like, it suggests a connection to Wilbur and his family's blasphemous rituals. But the true nature of the entity remains shrouded in mystery.
It's interesting that you mentioned the half face. It's such a small detail, but it's the one that really sticks with you, isn't it? It's like a symbol of the creature's warped humanity, a reminder that even in its monstrous form, there's a trace of something recognizable, something almost, I don't know, pitiful.
Exactly. It evokes this strange mix of horror and empathy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Making the creature something more than just a mindless force of destruction. And that's what makes Lovecraft's cosmic horror so effective, I think. It taps into our deepest fears about the unknown, while also forcing us to confront, the complexities of existence, the blurry lines between humanity and monstrosity.
So what does the Dunwich horror ultimately tell us about ourselves, about our place in the cosmos?
I think it serves as a cautionary tale. It warns us about the dangers of seeking forbidden knowledge, of tampering with forces we don't understand. It reminds us that there are limits to human comprehension, and that some doors are best left closed.
But couldn't you also argue that it's a celebration of human curiosity, of our drive to explore the unknown, even if it comes at a cost?
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
Lovecraft himself, he was fascinated by the mysteries of the universe,
Yeah.
even though he often depicted them as terrifying and beyond our grasp. The Dunwich horror, it can be seen as both a warning and an invitation, I think, to explore the darker corners of existence, to confront the things that scare us most.
So even though the story is set in this isolated rural town, it has some pretty relevant themes for us here in the modern world, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. In an age of rapid technological advancement, genetic engineering, AI, the question of what constitutes forbidden knowledge is more relevant than ever, I think.
Right.
Lovecraft's story, it forces us to consider the ethical implications of our pursuit of knowledge, the potential consequences of unlocking secrets that might be better left buried.
It's like he's saying, be careful what you wish for, because the universe might just give you what you ask for, and it might not be what you expect.
Exactly. The Dunwich Horror, it's a story that stays with you long after you've finished reading it. It leaves you with a sense of wonder, a touch of dread, and a whole lot of questions about the nature of reality and humanity's place within it.
Well, on that unsettling note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the Dunwich Horror. If you haven't already braved this tale of cosmic horror, I highly recommend you do so. But maybe keep a light on while you read, and as always, keep diving, keep questioning, and keep exploring the mysteries of the world, both real and imagined.